Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and earn even more money. All in one place, and it's for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup looks like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we feel like having options like video podcasts, Q&A, and polls has let us be creative on a whole other level. I highly recommend you give it a try. So download Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Welcome back, Exes and T podcast fans. Hey, it's Danny here, you guys. I'm really excited. We have another Worldwide Dream Builder story for you guys, another experience of how Amway and their lines of affiliation are fucking toxic. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick disclaimer here because I'm not trying to get sued. Every name has been changed as far as the upline goes, crossline. Anybody that we're going to be talking about, their names have been changed. And this is purely based on personal opinions and personal experiences. I'm not here to defame anybody. My guest isn't here to defame anybody. We are here to share a story. So, that being said, if you want to join these organizations, like, hey, you go for it. You're a grown adult. I would definitely recommend listening to these stories. So maybe you'll proceed with caution. I hope that you'll get a whole well-rounded view before making that decision. But you're an adult and you can do that. I also just wanted to thank everybody who, again, has continued to support this podcast for sharing your stories because I'm just so excited with how many people have wanted to come on and share and that feel supported and feel safe to share their stories here because I don't know that any of us ever really felt safe in Worldwide to truly share our authentic selves. So if that's you, you're safe here. So, with that being said, you guys, I'm really excited. We have another guest with us who was downline of the guy who talks really fast, which this organization has come to us a lot lately, and I'm really excited. I'm living for it. So, I'd really like to introduce Rebekah. Hi, Rebekah. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Danny. It is such an honor. Thank you for having me. I
Of course.
really
So,
appreciate it.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for wanting to come on and share with us your story and also for being you. We've had many conversations before this. So I'm really excited to just gotten to know you and continue to getting to know you as a person. And I'm curious, how did you find me?
Oh my goodness. Again, thank you for having me here. I found you through Zay and Melody. Or is it Melody? No, it's Melody. Zay, Seven, and Melody. And I remember it was like back in 2019. It was all before COVID, a long time ago. So, yeah, I think it was back in 2019. I was looking through YouTube to find someone who I identified with, and I couldn't find too many stories or too many reviews or anything on Worldwide Dream Builders or Amway. I only saw like maybe one or two videos of people's experiences, and I was only looking because I had felt, I don't know, I guess like scarred by my experience, so to speak. So I was
Yeah.
looking for additional support because I felt isolated and I felt like triggered all the time. I would hear random things and I would feel triggered. So I'll hear somebody say fired up and then I'll feel like triggered. I'm like, I'll just turn the TV off or just stop having this conversation because I would hear something that triggered me that brought me back to my time when I was in Worldwide Dream Builders. So I started looking for support pretty much and I came across Zay and Melody. They ended up making all these videos and then they made a Facebook group and I became a part of the Facebook group. They even had like certain, I don't want to say challenges or whatever, but I think one time they had like what do you call it? Like they say if you go on all the social media platforms, so if you go and you become a friend on not friend, but follow on Facebook, if you go on Instagram, and then I don't even think TikTok was like really a thing at the time. I mean, I think it was, but it wasn't like big. It was like one of the other social media platforms. And if you went on all those, you follow, like, subscribe, or whatever, and you sent it to them, then you could be in a running to get like a gift card. and I
Hey.
won and I got that gift card and I took a picture of it and I sent it to Melody and I was like, I'm so excited. I feel like I'm a part of something. And so from there, I got into the Facebook group and I stopped posting and I felt like recently, I don't know if it was triggers coming back or maybe I was just looking for additional support. But also I was listening to Roberta Blivens, her anti-MLM podcast, and there's not a whole lot of Amway stories on there. So I was looking for support again because not May, but Zay and Melody stopped doing videos. And I can't find too much Amway or Worldwide Dream Builders type stuff out there. So I started posting to the group again. And then I think it was something that I posted, or I think I actually ended up posting an episode of Roberta Blivens' anti MLM. And then I think you commented on one of the posts that I made, because I think it was one day I made like 5 posts, and you commented on one of the posts and you put in a podcast. I listened to the podcast, I loved it. You know, I listened to 3 podcasts before I realized it was you.
Really?
I didn't even know. I was like, who is this person? And you would say, this is Danny. And I think Corey was on there too. And then like I heard the intro and I'm like, Danny. I originally thought that you were Melody
Oh,
because I thought you were Melody, but maybe Melody had like maybe her middle name was Danielle or Danny or Daniela or something. And I
yeah.
was like, okay, I guess Melody branched off and created like her own like she became an admin or something like that. So I didn't know what was what. But it took me 3 episodes before I realized, oh shoot, this is you. You posted this under the comment, but you are in control of this podcast. And I was just like floored. And I was like, this is amazing. I love this. So I think this is, to answer your question, this is how we met. Very long winded, but
No. Hey, that's context. I love that you won this gift card from them as well. I know that their activity was so fun. They made everything really engaging. They really listened to people, and
right.
really hope Zay and Melody, if you guys are listening, which I really, really hope you are a big fan, please come back eventually. Like, I don't know
Please,
why you
please,
guys are the
please.
best.
You guys shouldn't have left us like that. Like you left cliffhangers for us. I need so much more material from you guys. I miss you. I am wanting to see like where Seven is and his beautiful curly hair. Oh my goodness, he was so adorable and so cute. I know the last time I think we left off, I think Melody was pregnant. I don't know what happened after that, but I hope that they are doing so good right now because they have helped so many people. Like when I tell you they've helped me, like listening to those videos, listening to their stories has been so therapeutic because I can identify with it so much. Oh my gosh, it really helped me. I watched those videos and I literally deconstructed every point of my journey with Amway. I sat with my boyfriend. My boyfriend and I sat side by side on the couch. We would pause it every other minute because I identified with something and I had to explain it to him, like what this meant and how it affected me. So listening to these videos were very like pivotal for me. So I appreciate it if you're listening out there. Zay and Melody, just know you have really helped some people out there. You did your mission. Like you've done it. You have so much more, so much more to do because there's so many more people out here who still want you out here. But like just know that we miss you and that we love you and we appreciate you.
Yes, absolutely. And I really think that you said it best, but I always try my best to give them as much credit as possible because this podcast would not be possible if they didn't start what they were doing. Like
Hmm.
they really just set the tone for it's okay to talk about this because you're right. There aren't very many people who are talking about Amway, Worldwide Dream Builders, but worldwide. Like it's like I don't know why. I wonder if it's because maybe in the past they've been litigious. Maybe it's a fear of many different things because worldwide and all these different lines of affiliation, Amway, it's just a whole different beast than maybe something like It Works or Arbonne or Mary Kay. Like
Right.
this one's just different. And for Zay and
Mm.
Melody to have they did not change names, y'all. Like I'm maybe I'm
Mm-mm.
a little bit more scared than them, so I apologize. But they seriously, you guys, if you have not checked out Zay, Melody, and Seven, please do. I try to periodically post videos that in my stories. So if you ever see it, check it out. But look them up, Zay, Melody, and Seven. Their videos will never not be relevant. They will always, 100% of the time,
So
be
relevant.
relevant.
Yeah, it is.
So
And I appreciate them so much. And I think like if I were them, I would have had so much fear because they drive into you. Like when you're actually in worldwide, they drive into you to not go on social media and to not do certain things. And I even heard something one time from somebody, can't even remember who it was, but like pretty much saying like legal action can be brought against you if you mention certain things. But for them to do that, they were so brave. But I know someone outside of worldwide, and I don't know if I'm able to like do like a little plug or stitch. I don't even know what people call it these
please do.
days, but I listen to well, it's not a podcast. He has a YouTube channel. His name is Always Marco or
Yes.
something like,
Oh,
oh
I
my God.
love him.
He is hella funny. He is so funny. He will go in, record stuff. Like he actually interviews people who are like at the top of the MLM or whatever. Like he will confront people. I love it. He is so real and he has like facts. Like he has cold hard facts and like firsthand experience. And he will record like do a video recording and like a audio recording of stuff. So he will infiltrate anything.
Yes.
Like he has no chill whatsoever. So always Marco, like he's another good person to go to. He's not Amway or Worldwide Dream Builder specific, but he definitely he covers a lot of it. So always Marco, Zay Melody is seven, and this podcast X's and T. If you haven't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here. Go check it out.
Thank you so much. I also have to add, if y'all are on TikTok, and if you're not, please just take a moment to go check it out on TikTok. I'm sorry if you're not on TikTok. So,
I'm
but
not
she's
on
only on TikTok.
TikTok.
Okay. But maybe I'll try to see like how I can get these videos to anybody who wants them, who's not on TikTok. But her name is the Anti MLM Kid. She was raised in Amway. Her parents were diamonds in Amway. So she always heavily talks about Amway and the lines of affiliation. She never mentions her name, her parents' names, or what line of affiliation that they were in, which I have so much respect for. But she has like so much insight that I love her content. So if you guys haven't already, check out the Anti MLM Kid. Oh, and the Anti MLM Lemon. Oh my God, her content is really funny. It's LTD Amway specific. But it's funny because she's like the little like lemon filter and like the voice filter. So her content's just fun to watch, but it's also very relevant. So yeah, no, we love to make sure that everybody has a really good base of where they can get information because I don't have all the answers. And people like Roberta Blevins, who have a larger platform, definitely have people who come on. They had, if you guys haven't heard it yet, she has an episode with a guy, I think they call him Steven. He was like an emerald in one of the lines of affiliation and talks about like when he found out he was getting paid from that line of affiliation, that he was getting paid from the apps and as a speaker, and
Right.
how the inflating of the book prices, like it's intense. So if you have not heard that one, at the very
Definitely
least,
listen.
yes, it's so good. But yeah, if you guys also know other creators who are talking about this, please let us know because I want everybody to know. And if you're a creator who's doing this, let me know because I think there's never too many. There's never too many podcasts. There's never too many times to share your story. Like we don't gatekeep here. We want you to have this information. So I'm excited. Thank you so much, Rebekah. You're so sweet. I'm really excited, like I said, to have this opportunity to get to share your story because you have a unique perspective. And because the way you found out about about Amway and Worldwide. So how did you find out? Because that was really interesting to hear.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was introduced to the opportunity.
Trigger
I
word.
was, yes, boom, boom, trigger, trigger. So just so you know, I'm gonna be like everyone else at the beginning of the podcast. There's some trigger warnings in this podcast.
Exactly, exactly.
So these are the trigger warnings. You're going to hear some triggering words if you were in Worldwide Dream Builders or some type of line of affiliation. So there you go. There goes your trigger warning for me. So, like, if you hear the word fired up, I'm sorry. If you hear the word freedom, I'm sorry.
If
So,
you're
uh,
fired up, we're sorry.
sorry. Boom, boom, trigger, trigger. So, but yeah, I was introduced to Worldwide Dream Builders in 2015. And just so you know, 2015 was like a really weird year for me because I had just graduated from college in 2014. Anybody who just graduated from college or who is a 22, 23-year-old, that is a very weird time in your life. So your brain is starting to solidify a little bit. It still has some development that it's going through, but it's like a really weird time because if you're just graduating from college, you're trying to look for a job, you're trying to just find your footing somewhere. You don't know really where you belong. At least I didn't know. So in 2015, that summer, I had just lost my grandma. So my mom's mom passed away. And I was also getting over a breakup, which was like weird because I should have gotten over that breakup a long time ago because we actually broke up in 2015, 2012, and it was 2015 at this point. So I still loved him so much. And it sounds kind of weird, it sounds kind of creepy, but maybe we were meant to be together because we're together now. I got him back.
Hey, I love that level of like that's a wholesome portion of the story that I hope everybody hangs on to because it is possible. Like that makes me so happy. Like your guys' story is I mean, it's crazy. It's a lot of different moving parts, but the fact that you guys are together and happy, especially after you having gone through this really traumatic experience, that's not just having your family members pass, which I'm so sorry to hear that, but also like Amway as a whole and worldwide and how your
Yeah,
upline treated you. And now that
right.
you have this almost like happy ending, like you deserve it. And I'm so happy
Yes.
for you guys.
Thank you so much. And I am so glad that we were not together during this entire experience because if we were, I don't think we would be together now. So like in the summer of 2015, I was still going through that. It was a weird period in my life. I ended up coming across some childhood friends. And when I say childhood friends, like we knew each other from from high school and everything. And we started my high school friends, their mother started a youth group out of her house. And so it was a very Christian-based youth group. We would go there like I don't know how many nights throughout the week. It was supposed to be something good and wholesome for the kids in the community who really wanted some guidance. So we loved the fact that she opened up her house to us. She would cook for us. We would talk about the Bible. It was like a Bible study group. But as time went on, it became a little bit more rigid. The teachings became a little bit more, I don't want to say culty, but that's kind of what it felt like. So I didn't, I just kind of backed away from it at some point. And so the person who was leading the cult, I will say her name was Miss Mary. So we loved her so much. She was really nice. But her teachings just became too much for us. But her son and daughter were actually my upline. So I guess that's a little bit of foreshadowing. I was a part of this youth group back when I was in high school. So from like 2008 to maybe 2010-ish, or 2007 to 2010. I was in the youth group and we had a really good time together and everything, but I kind of left around like 2010 when I went off to college. So it wasn't until after college that I started reconnecting with her children. And so, and one of the children that she had, we'll call him Lewis. I ended up connecting with Lewis on a relationship level in the summer of 2015. When I reconnected with him, he started talking about how his sister knew this couple that retired at the age of 25, 28, whatever, like late 20s, early 30s and stuff. And at this time, I'm still living in Miami, Florida. They are living in Las Vegas, Nevada. So this is a long distance reconnection situationship that we're developing. He's telling me that his sister met this couple that had retired early and everything, and it they got me kind of because like I felt like it was a like you had me at hello type moment in regards to like Amway and the business or Worldwide Dream Builders as far as the opportunity they had me at hello because, like I said, I just graduated from college. I didn't really have my footing anywhere. I didn't know what was what. I didn't know what was up, what was down, or anything. So to hear that a couple retired early, I hadn't heard anything like that. And he said the word mentorship. Now, going back to spirituality, my mom, she's a very spiritual person. And my mom has always taught me that confirmation comes in threes. So my mom, earlier that summer, she noticed that I was really lost with things. So she was just like, she calls me Rebe. She's like, Rebe, maybe you just need a mentor or somebody to guide you or something like that. Maybe look into getting a mentor. So she had said it. I heard mentorship from Lewis. I had heard mentorship from someone else at the time. And then I had also heard mentorship from his older sister, Natasha. So I'm like, wow, I'm hearing this mentorship word. Maybe this is for me. So when they dropped the message or the opportunity, it was like, whoa, mentorship, knowing people who have like all this money, they retired young. Like, I'm trying to find a job. And that's kind of how they really like reeled me in. I don't know who knows this or who doesn't know this, but if you've ever been approached by someone who is in Worldwide Dream Builders and you're going to college, they kind of shit on college. Like they'll say like, "Oh, you're spending all this money," and I mean, and there's some hint of truth to it, and that's how they gaslight you. But they'll say like, oh, you're going to college, you're spending all this money in the college just to graduate and have a piece of paper with all this debt and stuff, and then you're only going to make like $12 an hour. Like, you're not going to get any freedom. You're going to be working forever. And it's like, you're kind of right because that span of a year did feel like forever where I'm like, I don't graduated with a bachelor's degree from a private university, like a 4-year college with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I'm working at Home Depot making $12 an hour, if that.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't feeling it. And I'm working part-time. So I'm not making no money. And I'm like, where is my life supposed to go from here? And I had trouble with finding positions because I don't know if I have some type of, my mom, she always said I got bored easily. So, like, I don't know if she meant like I had ADD or something like that, but I cannot focus in a 9 to 5 job sitting in front of a computer all day. That just wasn't how I operated. So I did that for like, I had a job at an insurance company for 2 days and I never went back because I was sitting in front of a computer all day. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I cannot do this. And they were saying things, it's like they were dropping nuggets, they were dropping bombs to kind of like reel you in that way. Like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. I did that for 2 days and I felt like I was about to lose my mind. And so when they approached me from that perspective, I was like, okay, I'm sold on it. So then they just started like, I don't know, they just started uh saying these things and it reeled me in. And then I got in contact with his sister, Natasha, and I was kind of skeptical about her anyway because me and her, we never really had like a super close relationship because she was very sarcastic and the way that she would say things like sarcasm, like there's levels of sarcasm. Hers was a really deep level of sarcasm when she would make like really strong jabs and it kind of like hurt your feelings. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't really like that. So we weren't really close anyway. So I was kind of skeptical about interacting with her, but it seemed like this opportunity had changed her. So I was even more interested. So I'm like, oh, okay. And they had me read the books, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Business of the 21st Century. And they asked me all these questions about my mindset and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Which was kind of like unrealistic because they asked me to read the book like within a week or less than a week, like a few days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could read
Wow.
fast, but I can't read that damn fast.
It's like giving you homework. I mean, the way that they do it because, right, they want you to feel like this is a serious opportunity and that only serious people will read this book faster. You'll
Yes.
make time for it. But I love how you said that they play on those things where it's almost like they somehow, well, they do. They find your insecurities purely based on communication. It's pretty easy. You talk to somebody and it's not hard for most of us to say, yeah, I don't love my job. Like, "Oh, how's your day going?" "Oh, it's kind of a rough day." Is it, or it's a good day? "Yeah. How do you like working here?" Most people are gonna be like, "It's all right." It's okay, especially if maybe it,
Mhm.
it is Home Depot or maybe something that's not exactly somebody's dream job. And maybe Home Depot is somebody's dream job. Somebody's like, "I want to get into this business. This is the way that I'm gonna start doing it." I'm really excited for those people. And with Amway people, yeah. Oh yeah, if you went to college and you're working not in your field, they will absolutely like throw that at you. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what did you go to school for? Oh, why are you working here?" Like it's
Mhm.
so passive aggressive and it's insulting. But you're so right. And it's crazy that this all happened like long distance. And
Yeah.
so what was your impression of the book that they had you read?
I feel like it was more of like I understood it, but I didn't know what the agenda was because I was like, why are they having me read these books? And then I saw like the quadrants and stuff. And the thing is for me, I'm an academic person, and when somebody tells me to read a book and almost like I'm gonna have a quiz on it, I read it knowing like with the intention that I'm going to be quizzed on it. So I'm like heavily diving into this book, almost damn near like taking notes and stuff on it. And so I didn't really I didn't really know what the expectation was, but I knew that I was going to be questioned about it. And when I was kind of questioned, like when I had the question as far as like, are you process oriented or results oriented? I was like, boom, boom, trigger, trigger, just for those
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
trigger
It was.
warning. Process oriented or results oriented, I don't even really know how to answer that question because I can go through a process if the result is worth it. But at the same time, I do get lost in the process. And while I'm in the process, if it's not worth it for me, I'll say fuck the results. I don't care. Cause I'm a very like here and now type person. So if I'm not enjoying this process right now, we're gonna scrap it. And so but then they start talking about like this delayed gratification. Boom, another trigger. So so, like, we should play a game. Every time we say a trigger word, take a shot.
Yes, it's a drinking game at this point. If you're sober, find something else. Like it's fine.
Find something else. Take a shot of water. Maybe a shot of espresso or something. If it's wherever you are, if it's too early in the morning or something, take a shot of espresso. But yeah, but it was like really weird to kind of read these books, but at the same time, it was like it was. edifying. Like I learned, which might be another trigger word, honestly, edifying, because you're supposed to edify your
Yes.
upline in a way.
They're the only ones I've ever heard use that word. So,
Yeah,
yes,
and
it is
I have heard
absolutely.
it. I've heard it in a Christian setting as well. And so I wasn't surprised. It was kind of coincided, I guess, with my beliefs already or something that I had heard. And so I feel like maybe being in that youth group that I was in kind of primed my thinking for this type of opportunity. I don't really know how, but I feel like a lot of things lined up. And I feel like the more I look into it or the more I talk about it, I could kind of see how things lined up and kind of prime me for it. So I don't know. That's just where my mindset is right now. But yeah, I didn't know exactly what I was going to get from those books. I just know I had to read them. And with it being long distance, it was a little bit harder for me because I guess there wasn't really anyone in my area. There weren't like any rallies going on in my area or anything. So they actually ended up sending me to Tampa. Mind you, whoever's not familiar with the geography of Florida, Miami, Florida is about 4 hours away from Tampa. So I had to drive from Miami to Tampa to attend this meeting, and I didn't even really know what this meeting was about. It wasn't even like people who were going to be my upline. I don't even think my upline knew who these people were. I think they might have communicated with someone in their upline and they found like some type of group that was out on my side of the world. Like I have no idea how they communicated or how this group came about. So I was just told to go to Tampa, Florida to attend this session. And I don't even remember them talking about Amway. I think they talked about the opportunity, and it was in the middle of a church. It was in a church. So I'm like, okay, I feel like safe. They weren't like really dressed up to the nines, like how people are dressed up in the actual like board plans and stuff. They were kind of like in jeans and stuff. So it was like a little different. It felt really awkward because I didn't really know anybody. I think maybe one or two people introduced themselves. And actually, I left the meeting not really knowing anything. And I don't know why that wasn't a red flag, but it wasn't enough of a red flag for me to ignore. But I didn't know anything. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
I just traveled 4 hours and luckily I have an aunt who lives in Tampa and I was able to spend the night, but then the next day I have to go back and I didn't learn anything. I don't know what I was thinking. Like I was saying, I was 22, 23. My brain was not developed yet, so I have an excuse.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, for sure. Like and they're so good at it too. Like the reason why this organization is so successful is because they have adapted this way of manipulating people. It's people who would otherwise question things will kind of turn that side of them off because of the love bombing, because of the buzzwords that they use, right? Like cash
Yeah.
flow and are you results oriented or are you
Mhm.
process oriented kind of things, and they make you really want it. If you're interested and you've been in the business, you know what it's like to I have to earn an offer into this opportunity. And after you went
Right.
to Tampa, like how long did it take for you to finally learn that it was Amway and then Worldwide Dream Builders?
Honestly, I feel like it took a while. I feel like I didn't really know fully about Amway until I moved to Vegas. So for those who don't know, I actually picked up and moved my whole life to Vegas for this opportunity. I sold my
Wow.
car. Yeah, I sold my car to my dad. Thanks, Dad, for buying my from me, even though he was the one who put half into it for me. He ended up buying it from me just so I could have money when I was in Vegas. And I moved there with two suitcases, and I actually ended up living with my upline. So her and her husband and Lewis. So it's Lewis, Natasha, and Peter. We were all in the same house living together. And mind you, I'm still having this situationship with Lewis. So it was like it was messy from the beginning. And actually once I got to Vegas, Lewis and I ended up not working out, but we still all lived in the house together. So I'm living with my upline and they pretty much said like eventually once I started figuring out more information about like what Amway was and everything like that. Like I'm pretty sure it was mentioned before I left Miami, but they told me to not do research. So I didn't do research. So I didn't really know exactly what I was getting myself into. And I think maybe I mentioned it to my mom at the time. And my mom, she was like, yeah, I was in Amway before, but I can't remember if that was like before I left or if that was after I left. But they've
Oh,
been in Amway
wow.
before and they didn't have anything bad to say about it because they were in it at a different time. This was like in the 80s and it was for a short period of time. And so they didn't really have much of an opinion on it. They were just like, well, you're in your 20s, you don't have any obligations, you want mentorship, you're going there for mentorship. We're glad that you're going with friends that you knew from youth group. So we trust that things would be okay, but we're still really scared for you because you don't have any family out there. So they were concerned and they were well within their rights to be concerned because your baby, like literally, I'm the baby of the family, so I'm the youngest, and I've always been known to be a free bird. So like your youngest free bird is going out there living her life and searching for opportunities and mentorship. All you can do is pray for the best. And when you're when you're 22, 23 years old, you think you know everything, but you don't know anything. So when you have your mind
Yeah.
made up at that age, there's only so much that your parents can say to be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. I think you face a lot less resistance if you support your kid going out there and doing that thing. And so it's like, okay, want to we want to support her. We want her to feel supported, and we don't want to lose her at the same time. So I think they did their best with navigating that whole situation. But I
Yeah.
had to figure it out on my own, and I did. I mean, it took me a couple of years, but I figured it out.
Yeah, definitely. I love how you say that too, because my dad is very similar. So he'll hate what I'm doing. He'll hate it, but he will make sure that I do it safely. Like, for example, I
Yes,
was very similar. I know we had this conversation before where, you liked traveling and it was like not like out of your comfort zone to just move across the country
right,
for an opportunity. And for me, it was road tripping all the time. My dad hated it, but he always made sure my oil was changed, my car was a safe thing. He would definitely like um lecture me about it, but he'd be like, as long as your car is safe, like that's fine. I mean, we laugh about it now because you're right, like at 22, like what the hell were we thinking?
right.
But
Not
it's true. And
thinking.
right. And at that age, and one thing that I've learned about Amway and all these lines of affiliation is that they are so predatory. They find very, very young individuals. Now, 21, 22 is maybe to other people, if you're 21, 22, you feel like you're old, you're ancient, like you got this. But like, let me tell you, in your 30s, you look back and you're like, damn, like you're a kid still. But n-
Right,
you can like sure you can legally buy alcohol and you're kind of like in this quote real world, but you're still figuring things out. So they'll find people who are straight out of high school, or even in Antonia's case, if y'all remember, she was in high school. She was like her entire senior year, she was in the business. She was 17 years old. So these people almost go out of their way to find younger people because in reality, they're easier to manipulate. It's easier to
yeah,
go up to some really motivated kid who's 21, maybe fresh out of college or still in college or not even sure about college, hating their job, and you have an opportunity for them to make millions of dollars. Hell yeah.
right.
What 21-year-old's going to say no? Like,
Right. And it's so weird because they try to say, oh, well, this is not a get rich quick scheme. But that's kind of how you dangle it in front of kids like that. Like, I mean, they're not kids, but in a way, like your 20-year-old kid. And oh, well, damn, now I feel old saying that.
All right.
Oh, you're a 21-year-old kid. What do you know? But like really that's how they pose it to, people who are like in that vulnerable age. Like those are very pivotal years, but they're very awkward years. Like between the age of 18 and I would say maybe like 24, 25 is a really weird time because you go from 17 to 18 and now you're just like boom, you're an adult overnight. And then like if you go to college or if you don't go to college, you're like figuring out yourself what path you want to go down in life, and there's just so much that you don't know and so much that you're open to. It's like it's the perfect time to kind of choose what path you're going to go down. And they make you kind of choose a path like when you're in high school or when you're in college, they make you choose all these things that are like big life decisions for somebody's brain who isn't even developed yet. So, yeah, it's a very vulnerable time in that age group, and they prey on people like on vulnerable situations. And
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's very icky. I don't like it, and it made me squeamish even dropping the message or given the opportunity, because like I don't go into conversations with an agenda, and that's what it was all the time. But yet they're telling me to develop these genuine relationships when this is not even a genuine conversation to start out with. Like I'm literally going up to people asking them or telling them, I like your shoes, even if I think they're ugly as hell. Like I'm going up to you say, oh, I like your shoes. I like your hair. Like I don't even want to talk to you right now, but I'm forcing myself to talk to you because I have to be core. Trigger, boom. Like if you don't know what core is, if you
Oh my
don't know what
gosh.
core is, it's those five little steps, or depending on whatever line of affiliation that you're in, like you have to make sure you're dropping the message or spreading the opportunity and reading your book for at least 15 minutes and sending off a Kate or listening to an audio. Like you have to do all your little five things a day. So yeah, it's a mess.
It is. Oh my god. Yeah. I found some notes actually recently on the steps of core. Like it
Really?
yeah, I'll have to send it to you later. As my upline on the whiteboard at a training wrote out all the steps of core. You guys, it's wild. Core is the way that they keep you brainwashed, right? It's the core
Yes.
stands for change or remain employed. And cuz you're just over broke your job, right?
Right.
So true words. But
Trigger.
this it's the way that they keep you only focused on the business because like we've talked about before, I think Jada was very clear when she's like talking about the fact that she was listening to audios instead of music, or how, we're giving
Yes.
up the rest of our lives to make sure that we get core done. Because let me tell you, when you don't send up that Kate even just one day and you
The
quote wreck your
guilt.
core run, it's guilt. It's nothing but shaming you, like, oh, I see you didn't send me your cake today. And they'll ask you, are you okay? But they'll do it in such a passive aggressive way that it feels so diminishing. So you do
Hmm.
what you can until you get core done. Um, and so I want to go back really quick that you moving to Vegas and you're living in the same house as your upline and this guy, I can imagine at times it was pretty awkward. And so what
Awkward
was
as hell.
well, I was gonna say, like when you got to Vegas, what was your like first real impression of what would become your line of sponsorship once you started going to board plans and maybe got accepted into partnership?
Honestly, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. Like I just knew that there was gonna be this couple that retired early and all this stuff. And I honestly I didn't know. I was there for a good time, because I was in my early 20s. So I'm trying to have a good time. I'm trying to figure out my life. And So really, I didn't know what to expect, but I know when I got there, when I started living with my upline, there were just some experiences that were a little weird. So first, I guess what I was told was that like when we start going to these meetings, there's a certain way that we have to dress. So make sure you have on skirt and heels or dress and heels or whatever. I mean, you could wear slacks or whatever, but they want you to like not wear jeans, a very professional business attire because you're supposed to be going into this business type meeting. And mind you, when I was in Miami, I had done like a couple Zoom meetings in on these meetings. So I would see, you know, the guy who talks really fast, I had saw him a couple times. So that was my upline diamond. And I ended up seeing him on Zoom and I'm like, wow, he seemed like he had a bigger than life type personality. He had this air to him. Come to find out, like sitting there more and more, I'm like, oh, this air is actually arrogance. Like you're actually an arrogant person. All right, I see you. And like personally, like I don't know them or anything. I just know what they give off and how I feel when I'm around them. So he could very well be a nice person, but really his air became a arrogance to me after a while. And that was after 2 years in the somewhere in the span of 2 years. That's where I started feeling that. But yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. I just know I started going. And when I was going, I needed to make sure that I dressed up for it and bring a paper and pen so I can take notes. And I was actually kind of confused as to why I'm bringing a pen and paper to take notes because I literally thought it was going to be something different from what I had originally heard. Not really realizing that every single meeting after this was going to be the same damn information. Like, what am I bringing a notepad and like pen and paper for if it's the same regurgitated information every meeting? I literally went into every meeting hoping and praying that it was going to be some new bit of information, thinking that there was going to be some type of aha moment where it just clicked for me. And the whole time, my conscience was trying to give me those aha moments, and I kept pushing my conscience down because I kept listening to what they were telling me. So during these meetings, like there was constantly like the things that they would say like, oh, this opportunity is for anybody and everybody. Like, everybody can be diamond. No, not everybody can be diamond because if that means if everybody is diamond, then who is going to be a buyer? Like, who are you going to sell your product to? Well, we're not focused on selling. This is not a product driven type of opportunity. And so at least that's what they would say. But if this is not a product driven or a sales driven opportunity, how are you making money? How do these bonuses come to fruition? Like, I don't really understand how this works. And oh, like, nobody, like, pretty much saying like nine to fives are all shitty, like, shitting on everybody's job. Like, last time I remember, you needed to go to a doctor's office. Your kids
Yeah.
need a physical. And those are jobs. Like, last time I remember, you walked in here with a Starbucks cup. Guess who working at Starbucks? A nine to fiver. So, like, how are you saying all these things about jobs when you send your kids to school? I mean, for them, for their family, I guess they homeschool their kids and they would go pick cherries and fruit in the middle of the day and whatever. And I only say that because they've like told this story of like, oh yeah, we buy our fruit in bulk at the beginning of summer. Like it was this glorious thing to do. So they go and pick fresh fruit off the farm. And I mean, it is a nice experience, but they made it seem like it was this thing that they were able to obtain because they were diamond, because they had more opportunity, they had more time, they had more resources, and that's what the opportunity this opportunity afforded.
Right.
So they would go and pick cherries and stuff like that on in the middle of a Tuesday. They could wake up and go to the beach and all this stuff. So I was like, oh, yeah, I want that for myself. But like realistically, who's running the farm? Maybe a 9 to 5er. Yeah, who is checking out
Yes.
this register? So like shitting on all these jobs in education, like your doctor had to go through so many years of med school, of education to treat you. I'm sure you don't want to go to a street pharmacist down the street and get your medication. So, like, don't say that this opportunity is for everybody and it's really not, and make people feel less than when they don't accept this opportunity or say, this isn't for me. Because a lot of times people would say, no, it's not for me. And then they would like talk about them like they were nothing because the opportunity
Right.
was not for them. And like, I don't know, they try to pride themselves on being inclusive, but they're not very inclusive when it comes to that. They cherry pick, so to speak, when it comes to stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know
Wow.
if I answered your question, and that was pretty loaded, so I apologize.
No, no, it's okay. I think, yeah, oh, definitely it does. And I think it goes even deeper too about, the way that they criticize other people. Like the way that the crown guy is so I fucking hate him. The way that he's like, well, somebody has to work, or fucking I had one of her downline on here is a couple who's from I think the wife is from Saskatchewan, and the
Oh,
husband is
yes.
I believe Chinese. She would always say, "Oh, well, somebody has to be working at the store I want to shop at," and I'm like. Why was that necessary? Like, just because somebody doesn't want this opportunity does not mean that they are not successful. And that's what they really put on
Yes.
us was that we
Yes.
were somehow this elite and everybody else around us was suffering. But yet,
Yeah.
if we really look back, we were suffering. We were broke as hell. We had no consistency in our lives.
None.
At least everybody who was, saying no to our opportunity, they had time for their kids. They had time to go do whatever the hell they wanted to do. They probably, maybe they might have been financially struggling. We don't know, of course, but I'm sure that they weren't giving all their money to Amway and to all these different lines of affiliation.
Yes.
So are they
Yeah.
really suffering?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I never really looked at it from that perspective because I was so young. I didn't really know what type of perspective to have, but like that makes so much sense. Like I can't even word it the way that you just worded it because it's like hitting me like, oh shoot, like I really thought that the opportunity that I had was the greatest. And the way that I would treat my jobs or my supervisors when I was on the job, like all of these teaching really warped the way that I would treat the actual job opportunities that I had because I'll get on a job and I'll be like, well, fuck this. I'm about to retire in 5 years anyway. So, like, who cares? But there were some things that actually helped me grow. And I don't know if it was the books, I don't know if it was the level of determination that I had to be better, to do better. Maybe I had that more of that competitive spirit at the time because I don't have a competitive bone in my body at all. Like I could care. I could play football. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not competitive. Academia was always my thing. So like actually having that push to go a little bit further, those golden nuggets to like remain consistent. It's a blessing and a curse, but if it's a trigger, boom, boom, trigger, trigger. Sorry. Uh, because like when they talk about consistency, they want you to always show up. You show up no matter what. Like if you're sick, If you are hurting, it doesn't matter. You need to show up. So when it comes to a job, translate that into having a job. You're always going to be that dependable person, that reliable person that your supervisor can rely on. So you're always there. You make these commitments, you stick to them, and then they see that drive. Like you have all of the qualities within you that they want to promote at your job. So, like being in worldwide actually helped me with that, but it was to a point where it started to become unhealthy and not manageable because translate that into my personal life, it's not all that helpful. It's not all
Right.
that helpful, and it could really break you down and like mess with your mental health. Like
Yeah.
it can be so bad because like me being consistent or my well, not being consistent, now I down myself when I'm not consistent. Like I am so hard on myself because I'm supposed to be consistent. That's the expectation. And I naturally have this perfectionist mindset. So if I don't do it all the way, like I get really depressed. And so or I can get super anxious. The pendulum can swing both ways for me, especially because also I have bipolar type 2. So come to find out that's what I have now. So that is my diagnosis and I am okay and free with sharing that. So if anybody whoever has any questions for me, I am absolutely open to sharing with that. And I don't hear enough out there about it, about bipolar type 2. I'm so used to hearing bipolar type 1, and a lot of people don't really understand the difference. But for bipolar type 2, I have hypomanic phases, which is not the same as manic. Mine is more of depression phases, like probably long bouts of depression with some spouts of like hypomania. So hypomania is like right below manic. It's a little bit below manic, and it's not as severe. It's actually more functional. So, just like a sidebar for anybody who needed to know that. But I'm
Of
like really
course.
hard. I'm really hard on myself. And I'm a big proponent for mental health. Like I've been in the mental health field for like 10 years. Obviously, I said my degree was in psychology, and for a long time I didn't use it, but then like I started growing in the field and then I did use it. So I've been using it for a while. But I'm not I'm not licensed, so I can't give no medical advice or anything like that. I can only
Right.
give my perspective. Yeah. So, but consistency, like if my partner is not consistent or used to be, I don't want to say now, like used to be, if he wasn't consistent, I would be really hard on him. And even with the fucking video games.
I'm the same way. Oh my gosh, that's one thing that we totally connected on was how like you're speaking so much truth, and like I can totally relate because that's one thing that we were talking about was my partner also plays video games, and then when he was what I would have perceived to be inconsistent, which I now through growth have seen no, that's not inconsistency, because what our perception of consistency was when we were in Amway is not what actual consistency is. It doesn't mean going to every single meeting, regardless of how fucking tired you
Mhm.
are. It means
Right,
that this person is there for you consistently, which they
right.
were not, if we're being honest. But
No, they
this
were not.
idea that they put into our heads about video games or people who played, oh my God, I was probably, and I can own up to it, not the best significant other because he was playing video games. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's a waste of time. And he's like, so what you're telling me is you can watch 3 hours of The Office, but I can't play 3 hours of video games. He's like, I work 16-hour days sometimes. What's the difference? I'm like, fuck, okay, you're not wrong, but it's
Yeah.
hard.
It is, and I didn't even consider that. Like I did not consider that at all. So after I exited worldwide in 2017, between 2017 and 2018, my boyfriend, me and my boyfriend, we reconnected. And there was a lot of adjusting that I had to do because it wasn't just we reconnected, we ended up moving in together shortly thereafter. And seeing the habits that he had was a very it was eye-opening. And it wasn't like in a bad way, but I judged him so hard. I was focusing so much on his habits, I didn't even think to consider my habits. But the playing of the video games was almost a deal breaker for me. And it measured the amount of respect that I was going to have for him. Because in
Yes.
worldwide, yeah, they drive that into you, right? It's like it is so it's so toxic because in worldwide, like you said, like no matter how tired you are, you show up. And I was pushing myself, and I still have an issue with pushing myself so hard without taking a break. I still think breaks are bad half of the time, and it's just my stinking thinking that I have to get through. I'm still a work in progress, even though it's like 5 years later, going on 6 years later. There are some things that I still have to decode from my brain, and I still have that perfectionist mindset that I struggle with sometimes. So it's even harder to get over. But the way that they said that pretty much men were little boys if they played video games all day, it was
Yes.
it was so bad. And the guy who talks really fast, he would say like this weird oh my gosh, it's so hard to get it out because it's like so funny at the same time because he literally thought he was having these like ooh, these mic drop moments, and everybody in the back of the room would go like ooh, ooh, when he would like say something that was like this really cool analogy or this metaphor. He would say something like, "Oh, you're playing games, but like what happens when you have to be called to duty for your family?" Like a pun in a way. Like you get it
Yes.
because he's saying like Call of Duty. I don't even know games like that, but of course I know what Call of Duty is. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and everybody in the room goes like, ooh, ooh.
Oh yeah, God, I remember his speaking. We saw him, of course, in functions, and I don't know that I ever remember seeing him in rallies too much, but he was always the one that everybody loved. They're like, "Oh, I love the guy who speaks really fast. Like he has just so much wisdom." Absolutely did, and I kind of want to go back actually to one of the points that you made. It's all relevant, I promise, but like the fact that they expect you to show up no matter what, regardless of the situation. One thing that you and I were just talking about is how there are many different life situations that come up that they criticize you about, whether it's a birthday party, a wedding, a funeral, so many different things that they're telling you. If there's a function that day, you can't go, basically. Which I think you
Yeah,
said you had a story like that.
I do. And it's so frustrating to think about it. And I know when we were talking about it, I like got triggered for a second and I was just like, wait, stop. Like I have to like go back on this because now I'm going through a similar situation that I was going through before when I was in Worldwide. And the way that they say that they hold family so high up, it's like, really? Do you? Because they miss, like, in Worldwide, I miss so many family functions. Like, I'm missing my actual family reunion because I'm going to Europe bougie ass, stupid ass like family reunion at this damn coliseum where I don't know anybody. Like I would rather be around my own family. And so like they it's almost like they're saying, well, we're your new family now. Like no. But yeah, they do not care about your family. I've missed graduations. I miss so much. And like now I have my grandmother. Love my grandmother so much. She lives in North Carolina. She was recently diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So I can only imagine how it would be if I were back in Worldwide because my grandmother who has cancer now, her mother passed away. So my great grandmother passed away when I was in Worldwide. I did not go to her funeral. And I didn't go to her funeral because The mindset was, what are you going to go to the funeral for? To be around a bunch of sad people? Like you can't revive her. Like what is the point of going to the hospital or anything like that? You're not a nurse. What can you do for her? Like how can you help this situation? You can help this situation by putting that money into your ditto or putting that money into your business and grow your business. So when you have your business, you can pay off those medical bills. You can pay for the funeral. You can put all that money back into your family. So this is like your retirement plan. This is your life insurance policy. This is the way that this is your way of life. So, like, this is what it's supposed to be for the next 5 years or however long it takes to become diamond. But I missed out on graduations. I missed out on all these family gatherings. And now if I do miss a family gathering, I'm still really hard on myself. Like I missed my cousin's graduation, not because I was in worldwide, but like I had a cruise plan the same week of her graduation. And I felt bad. I felt so bad because I couldn't go. And my cousin, she's like, "Oh, I understand. It's okay." And I missed my aunt's graduation party, and she graduated with her master's. And I think I was living in South Dakota at the time, and we had just moved, and we didn't have the finances. I was working at Starbucks, so like I couldn't afford a ticket to fly back out to the East Coast just for that weekend. And I felt really bad about missing that. So just the experiences that I had when I was in worldwide, I'm still like getting through some of that. And I'm like telling myself it will not happen again. Like I'm not going to miss this funeral. I'm not going to miss this time with my family. Like my grandmother has been there for me my whole life. Worldwide, like my great grandmother, I literally we spent every summer in South Carolina, in North Carolina growing up, because my dad's half of the family is from there. So every year I would see my great grandmother. So this person who's been in my life for 20 something years, you're telling me to not go to her funeral and I've known you for a year and I don't even know you like that? You not my family, you not nobody to me, and this is what you're telling me. And mind you, I'm still young. I'm not thinking about it that way. Now, hindsight being 2020, now I'm thinking about it that way. But like there are so many red flags that I feel like I should have seen. But like as Judge Judy says, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right, right.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You're full of baloney. I love me some Judge Judy. But yeah, it's really unfortunate and it's just they're so hypocritical on so many levels that it's crazy. You say you appreciate family and you want your why to be big enough and all this stuff and it's like in the process, the way you're treating your family, no, none of your family is going to want to be there for you afterwards. If you're isolating yourself and making yourself feel like that you're better than them, like because they're not accepting of your opportunity or this opportunity and mentorship. Like it literally breaks families apart. So it's really unfortunate.
Yeah. And that's just one of I mean, it's hard. That's one of the biggest things is that they preach family, but it's never your own family. Like
No.
your own family never comes first.
No.
And I think that's extremely, extremely challenging. And I wish I could say that was the only red flag. Unfortunately, it's not. And actually kind of going on the topic of red flags and you're in this business, when did you start to like what were some of the first red flags that you really started to notice and when did things kind of seem off for you that you started to really question like what am I in?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I felt like I would experience that like those aha moments during some of the night owls. I don't even know how far in I was into it, but I just remember sitting in those night owls. So like those were the night owls, right? Like after the meetings, like at night, they would do like a meeting after the meeting. And so like during the night owls when they would like break down, I guess during those times they were supposed to break down how the business worked or give you some behind the scenes stuff that they weren't saying to the people who are like brand new there. Because during the meeting, you're supposed to bring a guest or whatever, and then those people leave. And then once those people leave, then you have the night owl. And then you're supposed to get all of this business building type information. So I think it was more during the night hours that I was starting to have these aha moments. But like I said, my conscience was always there. So I would say the first thing. Let me say this. So when I first moved to Vegas and I was staying with um my friends, I don't want to say we're not really like friends anymore. I would say Peter. He's the only one that I'm still kind of friends with, but none of us talk or anything. But I guess the one that I'm on like really good terms with is Peter. Um, so and it's like so weird because they say all, and I'll go back. Sorry, let me go back. They say all these things about family and marriages and keeping people together. Natasha and Peter were married when I moved in. How about when I moved out, they got divorced? And so, like, I don't know what it is with this marriage, this worldwide making marriages stronger and better and stuff when half of this shit ends in divorce. I feel like I don't know what the statistics are, but I know that relationship specifically, I don't know what they were telling themselves to fool themselves during the time that they were in, or maybe they actually believed it. And I feel awful that their marriage broke up, but it was just so weird and so ironic. I would say that's another red flag moment. It was just so weird and ironic for them to preach all these things about family and marriages, knowing that their family, that their marriage was going through it. Like, I don't know how they were able to drop the message together, and I'm looking at them in the middle of Smith's. If you're from the West Coast, I guess you know what Smith's is. I don't think we have that too. I think we might have Kroger on the East Coast or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm watching you in the middle of Smith's drop this message saying how this opportunity has made your marriage so much better, and like y'all in the middle of separating. That is so hypocritical to me. And that was like a huge red flag, but I ignored it. And mind you, ignoring all these red flags have really done something either to my psyche or I don't know what it's done, but it's made me go through some type of identity crisis and made me not trust myself when it comes to making decisions because I feel like with Worldwide, I made so many bad decisions. And now I would say I've gotten better now, but it's taken me years to get here to trust myself in making decisions to move or to get another job or to like even small things like I'm not trusting myself with financial decisions that I'm making. Um, it's just done something to me where I don't really trust myself because I've ignored so many red flags. But it should where it should actually make me trust myself even more because I know I have a conscience and the whole time my conscience was trying to tell me the right thing, but I
Right.
ignored it the whole time. So I don't trust myself to trust my trustworthy conscience.
Oh, yes. That is such a good point that I don't think we talk about that enough here, where you're right. You're so right. Like same, like I've definitely I don't trust myself. Like I didn't trust like how could I when I allowed myself to be in worldwide despite what I was internally thinking? Like it's insane
Right.
to me. And
Yeah.
they make you not trust yourself. During that time they try to make you not trust your family or anybody outside of them and
Yeah.
their own resources, which is really disgusting
Mhm.
because your family and I'm going to say this again. We talked about this in Ashley's episode where, they're going to tell you because they care about you. They're trying to show you and they're trying to warn you because they care about you. But they're going to, because they want the best for you, right? But if they wanted the best for you and they don't see this as the best opportunity for you, they're going to be honest about it because if they did think it was, they'd be supportive. They'd be like, yeah, absolutely. I totally support this.
Mhm.
You're going to be great. But they can see past the things that we can't see. And
Yeah.
there's just so many blaring red
Yeah.
flags when it
There
comes to
are.
worldwide.
And I felt I and you know what? Like when you're just saying that, I just thought about my sister, about how gracious she was, and my mom too. Like my whole family, they were uh very patient with me, but I remember like trying to introduce the opportunity to my sister, and I know she wasn't feeling it. And now I can look back at it and laugh, but I know she wasn't feeling it, but she was like, "But what am I reading this book for? And what is this for?" And I know she was like she was only doing it because she wanted to know what I was getting myself into, so I appreciate her for that, and she has her ways about prying and getting information and stuff. So she's like, "Look, if I can't beat them, I'ma join them and I'm gonna figure out what's going on with you." So that was her way of figuring out like she was going through the process. And
Really?
yeah, she went through a little part of the process, and I think she might have read the book. She didn't really understand what was going on, and she pretty much said like, "This isn't for me, but I kind of support you. I kind of support you." She didn't really say that, but her actions said that. But I selfishly wanted her to support me 100%. And I remember there was something that she was doing, and I was kind of annoyed with her, or I don't know if I told her or if I told my mom, but I was just like, well, I'm not going to support her because she doesn't support me. She doesn't even want to buy my soap. That expensive ass soap, this
Oh my
concentrated
gosh.
soap that's supposed to be blessed from the heavens above. Like,
Can't even get my stains out if I'm being honest. Like, no, it was not great. But yeah, it's the way that they train us to feel about people, especially family members who are unwilling to get in this opportunity. Oh my gosh. And then you're right. It is on I was very much the same way. I wanted to try to get my brother involved and my brother would always just kind of like, yeah, sure. And then like obviously never show up for it. Which is
yeah,
okay. Like he just never was actually interested. He would just say that, because he was supportive of me and what I needed to do. And my brother and I are cool, but selfishly, same. I wanted him in. I was like, it got to the point too where I was just desperate for a downline. I was so sick and tired of my business going fucking nowhere and my upline criticizing me for it. And they're not going platinum because of me. Like, we need to push them into diamond or platinum qualification or whatever qualification they're going into. It's apparently my responsibility to do that, which is really crazy how this business works. And
hmm
it's really sad. One thing that I remember saying that is so, I can't believe I said this, but I said, in what place do we get excited for our best friend to become the CEO? Because like, the club owner
mm,
and his wife were going diamond, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited for it. But it's like, they're not good people, in my humble opinion. I don't think that they have a good message to spread. They should never have gone diamond, let alone been allowed to be on a stage to speak. I mean, half these people shouldn't. But
yeah,
back then, they're like royalty to us. And this is just a number of the red flags that are there. So
yeah.
what was the last straw for you where you're like, no, I got to get out of here?
I think it was, I don't know. Wait, because I want to go back to something that you said.
Please
There
do.
was, like, as you just made your last point. I was just thinking about some of those people who were on stage, and that was a huge red flag for me. Like when we would go to the rallies and stuff, or we would go to these big, these what was it, the four gatherings a year or whatever,
Oh, the
FED, family
major
reunion,
functions.
yeah, the major functions, the dream night and stuff. So every time somebody would get up on stage, it was the same message over and over and over and over. And I know they talk about duplication like constantly, but I never got any business tools for success. And I felt like that's always what I was looking for, but I wasn't really getting the nuts and bolts, as they say. I guess they would have like those nuts and bolts meeting, but what what the fuck? Like, where are these nuts and bolts? Where's all of this like groundbreaking information? It's like I would always get a little, but it would never drive home in my mind because there was nothing that I was getting that I could apply to an actual business plan. And it took me time to realize that, but that was a huge red flag for me. I'm not getting any information to build a business, even though they'll say, oh, well, this is like e-commerce or something. It's better than a brick and mortar and all this stuff. But there's still no real results or anything. I never saw anybody's tax return. I never saw how this money goes in and out. I never saw any of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so when do I get that? It's like I'm longing for it and never getting it. It's like a carrot being dangled in front of my face and like I can never get to it. So I'm just hoping and waiting for this big aha moment like, oh, I get it. And I never got it. But then I started like backing away and then I started getting it like, oh, y'all ain't shit. Like this is not a real opportunity. This is like this is the pyramid that y'all saying that y'all not a pyramid. And that was a red flag too. You talking about a pyramid, talking about jobs or pyramids. What is this? And like you're at the top of our pyramid right now, but they want to graph it in a different way, talking about, oh, well, you can grow above me, but the money that's coming in from the bottom is going to the top. How are they
Yeah.
going to grow above you? And realistically, are they going to grow above you? And when they keep saying, yeah, everybody can do that, everybody can do that, this is Vegas. Vegas, baby. It is small, and Vegas is big and small at the same time. Like everybody knows everybody. Anybody who is from Vegas or they live in Vegas, like it's a valley. It's a cutthroat city if you haven't heard it before. Vegas is so beautiful. I would definitely go back there. But it was just so much trauma that happened while I was there. So I don't know. That kind of like prevents me from moving there. But that's besides the point. What was a major red flag for me when I was there was that they kept saying that this opportunity was for everybody, but the market was so overly saturated. So there was literally nobody to drop the message to anymore because you go to freaking Ross and or like Ross or whatever department store and you're talking to these people and they say, "Oh yeah, I was approached like 3 times already." Who are you supposed to tell? Now you have to move to a different city just so you can drop the message because the message done been dropped to everybody. It's like 5,000 people at this conference. How do you not think like you want us to drop the message every single day? Like there's only so many days before you're gonna get to, you know, like until you've done told everybody in this freaking city. So you're dropping the message to all these people. You're supposed to get all these people in your downline. Like statistically, it's just not possible for all these people to get 6 legs up underneath them before you have gotten to the entire United States of America. So,
Right.
so
It's
like
crazy.
it's like, why are you telling these things to people? And as I'm sitting there in these nuts and bolts sessions and in these night owls, I'm hearing this in my conscience. but I'm not believing it. I'm telling myself something completely different. I'm telling myself I'm focused on the money. I'm going to retire. If I just apply this, if I just duplicate this, like if I just do this enough, this is definitely going to be me 100%. I'm going to be diamond in 5 years. And there's no doubt about it. I just have to apply myself enough. And they make it seem like when they say these things, they put it all on you. So if you make it, it's on you. If you don't make it, it's on you. And I don't really like that. I don't like that the way that they drive it into you because it makes you feel like only if I did a little bit more, maybe I could be successful. Maybe if I did a little bit more, maybe I would have made my ditto or gotten to a pin level. But speaking of ditto, that was a red flag too. The Natasha and Peter, my upline when I was living with them, they said that my rent would be my ditto.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so, so the money that I would put towards rent, I since I was a single, I had to do 150 PV, which was I think at the time what like $500 or 600. I don't even remember how much, but it was a lot of money for somebody making $10 an hour and working part time. Like, where the fuck was this money gonna come from? Like, literally, we need that money tree that my parents was talking about back in the 90s. Like, what do you think? We have a money tree in the backyard, you know?
Right,
like,
right.
like
Exactly.
that's how I felt, and I'm just like, I don't have that money. But I was like, well, if I was living somewhere, I would have to be paying rent. So I did put that money into the business. But at the time, I wasn't launched yet. I didn't have money to put into the business. I couldn't even afford my launch session. So, mind you, during this time, I'm buying products not from myself, I'm buying products from my upline, not
Wow.
even really realizing that that wasn't what was supposed to be happening because Natasha and Pete, Natasha and Peter is freaking telling me like when I would go to Smith's to buy some soap. Oh no, you're not supposed to buy that soap. You're supposed to be buying from us. I went to go buy Gatorade. Do you know the guilt trip that they put me through just because I went to go buy some Gatorade? Or if I'm buying a Red Bull?
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like it was so crazy to me. Like they would say this is anyway money, red
Yep.
flag, trigger, trigger. This is not anyway money. Like, I don't naturally spend. At the time, groceries were considerably cheaper, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, groceries were considerably cheaper, but I did not spend $600 anyway on like soap. I didn't like it is not comparable. Spending $20 on soap and spending $5 on soap, maybe if even, because I'll go to the Dollar Tree. If I'm struggling, I'm gonna go to the Dollar Tree and buy that SOP 5 or whatever they got in there. I'm gonna go to the Dollar Tree and buy some soap, some shampoo, some conditioner. Yeah, my hair gonna be dry, but I'm gonna be surviving. But don't make me feel bad because I'm not pouring into your business. I'm just trying to make it right now. But I
Right.
literally got guilt tripped because I came home, or I came back to their house with Gatorade, and they're like, "Well, we have excess energy drinks." I bought a $3 pack of 24 water bottles, some great value. I didn't even have the money for Pure Life. I got great value because it was 350 instead of 394.
Right.
So I'm getting great value, 24 pack for $3 and change. And you mad because I'm not buying your perfect water for what? How many would come in a pack? 12? I don't even
Oh, for
remember.
the perfect water? Oh my gosh, not enough. I think it was
48
12.
$48?
Yep. For a very small amount of water.
Are you
Like,
kidding?
it's hard to justify the purchase of the perfect water. My upline would constantly talk about how great the perfect water is. So here's for perspective for you guys. So I looked it up. Perfect water now. This is before tax for everybody who lives in a state that has tax. Shout out Oregon, who does not. $51 for a 24 pack of 16-ounce water bottles.
Bullshit.
24 $50. That's $2 a bottle. They want to try to tell you it's cheaper. You know what's cheaper? A Brita. A Brita that doesn't waste nearly as much plastic. That's actually like filtering your damn water. And you could buy a
Mm.
metal water bottle and it is so much cheaper.
But you don't, but Danny, this is what you don't get. This is like the most perfect water. This is like reverse osmosis. Like you just don't get it. You just have to be on that level in order.
I know. I know. I don't see
Oh
this as
my
good. I
gosh.
don't get the message. I don't see this as getting me rich. I'm sorry. 51 fucking dollars for water?
It's
Absolutely not.
crazy. It is
But you're
so
expected to.
crazy. Yes, and it's like I can't realistically, who can afford that? People can't, I can't even making 50 something thousand dollars a year, like especially in this economy. Like it was $50, that's enough to fill up my gas tank. And you want me to spend that on water? You better
Right.
put that filter in your fridge if you got one of those type of fridges or whatever. Like, and it's not even worth the PV or the BV. Like it's not, you don't get much from that. So like I'm buying all these vitamins and it's supposed to be anyway money. I don't even take fucking vitamins. Like, well, at the time now I do. I have to take vitamins because I had surgery. So like I mean now I have to take vitamins, but not nearly as much. Those things would make me sick. And there's
Oh my God, me
only,
too.
yeah, it would make me sick. It'll give me the shakes. But at the same time, I wasn't even properly nourished because I'm eating fucking tortilla chips and some bitter ass popcorn that doesn't even have butter on it, and these granola bars and Access energy drinks and these what do you call the pre-workout?
I want to go back to the water really fast because of how interesting this is. So I still have my Amway account. It's not a business. It's not like in business or anything. I just had to log into it. So Perfect Water, the IBO cost is $49.50. Retail price is $51. It's only 13 PV. 13 and you
Yep.
that's like $50 for 13 PV and they expect you to purchase 150 PV. That's a 3-to-1 ratio. At least it was then. I'm sure it's more now. $600 for 200 PV. 150 PV was easily $500. Like it is insane how much money that they are expecting you to put in this. And the return of investment is zero. It's like you get zero
Mm,
return on your investment. And
yeah.
it's crazy. It angers
Yeah.
me, but I thought it was funny to look that up.
No, that is so true. How much are the vitamins now? Because the vitamins were supposed to have the most PV of them all, but they were like, I don't even know if they were the most expensive. They were still pretty expensive because I think for that vitamin pack, it had to be like 60, $75, I think, at the time.
Oh yeah, the perfect pack. Oh, I just love. Oh. So the perfect pack, it is for IBOs
Oh,
$148.50,
shit.
$165 retail, and it's 44 PV. So yeah, it is more of that PV, and that's what I would always buy if I was like in a month where I couldn't get by. Like I had to buy vitamins because that's all I could afford to
Yeah,
buy just to make my PV. You know how many packets are in there? Enough for a whole fucking month.
30.
$165. Well, there's one for AM and one for PM. It's the perfect pack. So you take one in the morning and then one at night, and there's enough for 1 month's worth. So you get 60
Right.
packages. This $165. Now they're
Crazy.
pushing retail. So who's gonna buy this is what I want to know. Who's out here
Mm.
buying
Uh,
Neutralite Perfect
yeah.
Pack for $165.
Oh, that's anyway money, right? So people should have it, right?
That's
Of
right. You're
course, I'm
switching where
being
you shop. You're switching where you shop. That's right. I can't buy the nature vitamins at the store anymore that are like $20. Now I'm
right,
switching to the Perfect Pack, which has a fraction of the amount in them for $165. It makes sense because that's going to create entrepreneurship.
right. And you're buying from
What?
yourself. You're
Oh yeah,
buying
that's
from
right.
yourself,
Your
and
own
this is
store.
yeah, and these vitamins have been specially handpicked by the heavenly cherubims. Like, I don't even know if I said that word. Like, they've been picked by heavenly angels that have like sprinkled fairy dust on them, and they will magically heal all of your ailments.
Yep.
This this
Because
is this is so worth it.
exactly. Like the way that they pushed all of these products, like I haven't looked at this stuff in a long time. So it's really interesting to
It's
kind of go back
crazy.
and see how much things were and how, like, there's no
Yeah.
way that people are able to get 200
Yeah.
PV with less than with $600 anymore. There's no way.
No.
And you're
Inflation.
talking
Yeah, that's
exactly.
bad.
But also, I don't know if your line of sponsorship pitched this, but mine always said have enough for your upline. Have your upline's favorite excess. Have water for your upline. Serve on your upline. Have a servant heart. Oh yeah. We
Oh.
were always have to have extra water so we had like we were supposed to forego our own water to give it to our upline. And we're supposed to have a perfect water unopened ready for them. I'm not going to lie, there were times where I just put tap water in the perfect bottle. I just hate it. So sorry, Jenny, Craig, John, and Barbara, that you may have gotten tap water at some point and thought it was perfect. My bad. Unless you're one of those
Oh
people who
my
can taste the
God.
difference. I can. But like you are expected to have like who's able to maintain a 24 pack of water for 1 month? I don't know about everybody else. I live in Arizona. I try to drink at least half a gallon to a gallon of water a day. I try. I'm not perfect at it, but that's more than 24 packs for a whole month. There's no fucking way.
No, there's no way at all. Like Las Vegas was like 110 degrees on a good day. I'm gonna survive off of one bottle of water a day. Well, not even a day, like 75% of this bottle every day, because you only get 24. It's not even a full 30. And so like what I don't get it. I have no idea. I don't even know who thought this was a good idea. Like how is this
Exactly.
money going back into this and it shows you this is only beneficial for the people at the top. This is not beneficial for people who are doing like everyday type things like day in and day out. Like they're I don't think there's any way to get ahead of anybody who is on the top, but they just make it seem like if you don't get there, it's because of you. You just didn't work hard enough. You didn't push enough. And so, but
Yeah.
going back to that pre-workout, it's just that these people are not very educated with this stuff. And and it's not bad to be ignorant of it. It is just bad to be ignorant of it and then push it on someone else like like what's what about it and you don't know anything about it. You're pushing these
Exactly.
vitamins onto people. What if they have some type of allergy to these vitamins? Or what if they have something going on? Like you're not a medical professional. Even with, and I know that this is probably a stretch, but like you have to consult with them as if they are medical professionals, as if they are mental health professionals when you're
Yes.
seeking upline. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, did you talk to your upline about this? Did
Yep.
you did you seek mentorship? Like, like who are they? God? Like I who with these things they're so careless. And I get sometimes that the intention is there, but really, like, no, do us a favor and just don't. Like, refer them to actual medical professionals. Don't push these vitamins onto people. And like, I'm probably just shitting on all the products right now, but some of the makeup was okay. or some of the skincare stuff was okay, but like, I don't feel like they always had my color because I'm a black person. If you couldn't tell by now, I know it's like it's not always it's not always in the way that people speak or anything like that. But I am African American with some other mixtures in there. But like, I don't feel like they had my color, and I'm not even on the like I'm not on the darkest end of the spectrum. And so it's like the is it all that inclusive? I don't really know. I know they're not out here trying to be Fenty or anything, but like it's not really like the colors were not pigmented for my skin tone, but yet we're trying to push this on everybody. And so, and the skincare, I never really spent 50 to $100 in skincare. Now, today, if you were to take me to Sephora, now I might rack up a little bit of a bill. That's why I stay my ass out of that store. I don't need to go I don't need to go to Sephora and I don't need to go to Mac because I know if I do, that's going to be another situation. But those are very different from artistry. Artistry is not Mac and it is not Sephora, but they make it seem like, oh, these have so many different botanicals. And it's like, what type of botanicals? Like, what is so special about this makeup? Like, they literally have a story for everything and they are sold out for it all. And it's like, okay, like, be real about it. Like, I'm sure, like, these other people who have all these cosmetic lines will tell you, like, this is not for everybody. I mean, now people are becoming a little bit more inclusive, but like, I don't know. And that anyway money is bullshit because I'm not spending $50 a month on makeup anyway every month. Like I would much rather go to Walmart and get some NYX or NYX or whatever, or get some Elf for $1. Well, now they like
Yes.
$5 now.
Right, right.
I will go
Wow.
and get that.
Yeah,
That's
I think you make a lot of fantastic points. And just being in Amway is a nightmare. And you're right. It's not inclusive and they don't make things for everybody. Their products aren't for everybody. And they're not trying to figure out ways to become more inclusive. They're just they're just so predatory. And this is all, of course, opinion, but it's just a horrible organization and company to support. But I want to know, what was it like leaving, and what has life been like after you left?
oh, leaving. I think I left when my upline kicked me out. My upline kicked me out of the house. There was something that I guess I said because Peter was getting on my nerves one day, and I had a few choice words with him. And naturally, I am not like that. But it was just like a really weird situation that happened. And I think I think when I told him to shut the F up, that was the end of that. But even so afterwards, like it's weird, even though that conflict happened between him and I, it like we're still okay. Like if I were to pass him on the street, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? Like we're cool. It's more of me, Natasha, and Lewis. But even still to this day, I don't have any hard feelings for Lewis. I don't know. I guess maybe the bulk of it is with Natasha. I don't know. Maybe because I always felt something with her, and the way that she did Peter, I didn't like that because it might be a little bit too much info, but she was when they were talking about this marriage stuff, like she was cheating on Peter. Like what the fuck? Who does that? So I'm like, okay. All right. And I don't know if it had anything to do with like mental health stuff or what, but her personality began to change. But anyway, after I had those few choice words with Peter and they were going through their separation at the time, after that interaction I had with him, it was like radio silence for a few days. And I came home one day and there was a letter on my pillow telling me that I had pretty much less than 30 days to move. I think they only gave me like 20 days or something like that, which I think was illegal, honestly. Like like legally they have to give you 30 days because I was living with them. I was receiving mail there. I had been there, I think for like a year at that point. So like legally, I think they were supposed to give me 30 days. But I was like, you know what? That's fine. I'm like, I knew that this day probably could have come. So, I rented a U-Haul truck. Actually, that same week I went out and I looked for an apartment, found one for $720 a month, internet included. Actually, no, I bummed the internet off of the leasing office because my apartment was so close to the leasing office. So I didn't even have to pay for internet, but water was included. So I was like, okay, $720 a month. I pretty much put this into a ditto. I just need to forego the ditto to pay my rent. I need somewhere to live. Ain't nobody gonna do it for me. So at that point, I figured I noticed I had to fend for myself and I had to be real. I had to be real with myself. I had to be real about the situation and understand that, this is life at this point. And during that whole time, when I moved, nobody helped me at
Wow.
all. Even moving my stuff from inside of their house to the U-Haul truck. And I only had a bedroom. I had a twin size bed and I had like this chair and a desk in there. Getting someone in the house to help me. And mind you, there was one other person living in the house at that time because they were like renting out the other bedroom. Having someone help me in the house was like pulling teeth. Only one person helped me with one thing. I had to move everything myself and load it up into the U-Haul van. Luckily, I was in shape because I guess that pre-workout was working. I was going to the gym all the time. So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm young, I'm strong. I can do this myself." These days, I don't know if I fall the wrong way, if I put on my underwear the wrong way, my back is out.
Oh, I
So
feel that.
yeah. So back then I could do it, but so I did it, but nobody helped me, not my upline or my upline's upline, like nobody helped me. I moved everything by myself. And I'm thinking like maybe at some point somebody would call me. Nobody called me. And it was months later, I think, from my upline's upline, their upline. I don't know if they were like becoming emerald or something, or maybe not emerald, but like eagle or something like that, or they were on their way up. I think that was like Christopher and what's her name? Brittany. Christopher and Brittany. One of them, I think it was Brittany that had texted me like out of the blue one day. I was like laying on my couch and she was like, long time no see or something like that, trying to catch up. But it had been months at that point. I don't even know how many months later, but it was a long time into it. I think by that time I had moved from the original apartment into another apartment. So it had been months. So I noticed that nobody was gonna come help me. So I had to fend for myself. And it wasn't even like a formal goodbye. There was like no closure about the situation. It was only when I was about to leave Vegas, I think I had mail that was delivered to Natasha and Peter's house. And I was going over there to pick up the mail and I had to see Peter. And me and Peter, we kind of squashed it. Like we didn't have any hard feelings. And I kind of felt bad for him because I knew how much he loved Natasha and he was pretty much losing her at that point because
Yeah.
she no longer wanted to be with him. And he, if anything, he was in love with her, like 100%. but she didn't know if she wanted to be with him. And she just chose not to. I mean, relationships are tricky, marriages are tricky. So I mean, their marriage is their marriage, but like I just felt bad for him. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not gonna feel bad for you because you didn't feel bad for me when I was moving my shit up out of here. So why would I feel
True.
bad for you? But I mean, I'm human. I have a heart. So like I felt kind of bad for him. We squashed whatever. That's why I say till today, if I were to see him, I'll probably be like, "Hey, how you doing?" But we haven't really spoken since then. But I know he was heartbroken about the whole thing, and he was actually still under the mindset of, even though they were like in the middle of separation or divorce or whatever, he was still under the mindset that he had to be there for his team, like the
Right.
people who, and that's a part of that commitment. And so he was like, I'm supposed to be committed. I don't want these people to think that I wasn't serious about this, because I was like 100% serious. Like I I I love my people, I love my team, but he always had dreams of being in fashion. So he was like, I don't even know what to do at this point. Like, do I pursue my dream of going into fashion? Because he had a friend that was in, I think he was going into the fashion industry, and he was coming up with these designs and stuff, and they had been going back and forth. And I'm like, go for it, do it. But in worldwide, they tell you not to, and you keep
Yeah.
pushing it down because it's not a true opportunity. Like, it's not the real deal. But that could have actually been the real deal for him. And it feels like a
Right.
cliffhanger for me because I don't know where he is in life right now. I hope that he pursued the field of the fashion industry, because when I tell you this man could dress, he he looked good. Not saying like I had eyes for him or anything, but the way that he would dress, like he would dress better than those guys who, the culty thing. He did kind of assimilate to the cult culture of the the suits, the tight suits, and the shoes, and everybody having the same haircut. And mind you, he's a black guy, and he had the white boy haircut. That's what they would call it, the white boy. And so I don't know if everybody calls it that, but I don't know. What do you call it?
I called it the Amway haircut. Like every
Really?
dude had the haircut. Yeah, that was the way that they needed to look almost. You had to be almost identical to your upline, which they look like robots. That all you could tell a worldwide dream builder guy from like a mile
From a
away. You
mile
see that
away.
hair, you see that hairstyle and you're like, "No, I know that guy. He's glazed
Yep.
up," is what they say. I just learned that
Yep.
term recently that they like we're talking like my favorite podcast was just talking about like how people who are in different religious spaces, so like LDS churches and any other sort of religious organization, and people look a little glazed up, and I was like, oh my gosh, worldwide dream builders
Mm.
are glazed up, and so
Yep.
you can see it, and
Yeah.
it's wild. But I'm so happy here that you don't have a lot of animosity towards these people. Like you have your feelings,
Right.
but I just love how diplomatic you are about this because I'm over here like fuck my upline. So I have so much respect for you and the way that you've come on here and just spoke so openly. And I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your time and your willingness to come here and speak so openly about your experience. So, what is life like now for you? And what is your biggest goal when it comes to spreading the message about Amway and worldwide?
So what is life like now? Life is a lot more chill, I guess, if I were to say. Life is a lot more lax, and it's taken me so long to get here. I didn't know what it meant to relax. Like, now I binge watch stuff, and sometimes I still struggle with feeling guilty for binge watching, for even watching TV. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something. I think at this point in my life, within the last year or two, I've become okay with not always making everything into a business, not making everything monetary, like actually having a hobby that, like, I don't really have to have some financial benefit or like things like that. Like, I know I kind of know how to rest now. I didn't really know how to rest before. I didn't really know what that meant. um I didn't know how that could affect my blood pressure and my mental health by not resting. I've become okay with not having that hustle culture mentality of waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. and going to sleep at like 11 p.m., like being the first one in and the last one out and stuff like that. Like I don't need that to be successful. And it's unrealistic because if you don't get sleep, that shortens your lifespan. So like catch 22 for that, like you pretty much shooting your foot off if you are living by that type of mentality because like you're shortening your freedom, your life of freedom. Trigger, boom. Like
Right.
you're
Wow.
shortening your freedom. So like it's just not feasible. Like your body is not set up that way to be able to do that. It's not realistic. Your body can't handle it. It's not sustainable. That's the word I'm looking for. It is not sustainable. They teach you a
Right.
lot of habits that are not sustainable. So they make it seem like it is, but it's not. So I'm just now starting to figure out what sustainable is for me. I'm starting to figure out
Yes.
what success, which I don't really know what success means. I feel like people throw that word around a lot, and to me, it doesn't really have much weight anymore. Like, life is life. Success, I
Right.
don't even know what that means. As long as you treat people kind and you're there for people, I guess that's success. Like, I don't even know if we're put on this planet to be successful. Like, who came up with this definition? Who are they? Like, what is this? I don't know if you're familiar with that song by Jim. If you've ever heard it, it's a very old song, but it's called They by Jim. It, if you haven't heard it, if you've ever watched Degrassi or Noggin for all the Canadians out there who used to watch Degrassi or Noggin back in the day, there are these little music videos in between, and I know all the music videos like by heart that they used to play back in the early 2000s. So Jim was one of the songs that used to come on, and she's pretty much saying like, who are they? Where are they? Who comes up with all these rules? Who came up with the definition of success, and why? Who made it seem like this was okay? I guess it's the American dream type thing. I have no idea. This is what they push. So I am just now, this is what life is looking like for me right now. I am learning how to be okay and accepting life as it is. That's where
That's
I'm at.
amazing. Yay. No, I love it. And what is your goal when it comes to spreading awareness about Amway?
Girl, I don't know. I'm trying to
I feel
figure it
you.
out. Sometimes just talking about it is therapeutic. If somebody can take something from my story or anybody's story, like that would be awesome. If it touches someone's heart in some type of way, that would be good. If not, like that's okay too, because at least I said something and I feel okay. I'm just surprised that I'm just happy that there's a platform to just share stories. I'm all about sharing. So like I like to hear different perspectives. I like to hear like other people who have gone through similar situations and how it's affected them and how they've moved on in life. Every time I hear a story, something hits me in a different way. I think I was just listening to Hope's story the other day because they did a few different episodes with you, right?
Yeah, yes. Hope and Fisher are regulars here. Hope has been on quite a few times. And then her husband Fisher has also come on. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love listening to them. They say a lot of good stuff. I love listening to all the stories, but I remember listening to something. I think it was like yesterday or the day before when she said something about an identity crisis. I was like, yes. I said, mm. When I was in the car, I was like, mm. Because I'm like,
Right.
I feel that I went through such an identity crisis, and there was some other trauma that I had after exiting Amway, like with an abusive ex that I had, which also caused some of the identity crisis. Like I literally felt like coming out of Amway, I didn't know who I was because my identity was so much in Amway. So unlearning that, decoding those things, learning new habits, forming a new identity, like really figuring out I like instead of what somebody is telling you is very it's like a shock to the system, and trying to navigate that is very hard. So when you hear other people's stories and you can identify, it just creates like it creates a space where you can feel like you can breathe again because somebody else has been through it too. Yeah, that really resonated with me when she was talking about an identity crisis and really trying to figure out who she was after, because that's something that I think I struggled with for a while, and I had to go through intense therapy after I left Vegas, and like just trying to figure out those stepping stones in life, like figure out my way out of that, after that, through all of that has been very hard. It's been eye-opening and it's been enlightening. And so yeah, I have a lot of faith for the future.
Well, thank you so much for all of your time, for you coming here and being vulnerable and talking to everybody and sharing your story. We can all learn from each other, and I'm so grateful for it. So, thank you again, Rebekah, so, so much. If you guys want to be like Rebekah and you guys want to come on and share your story, please, I've actually changed it. So, please email me at Dani, DANI, at exesandtpodcast.com. You're still welcome to DM me on Instagram if that's the best option for you at exesandt.podcast. You guys can find me everywhere podcasts are heard, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye-bye.